Hey, Bob Coppedge here, Crotchety Olde Geek, with another rant on. Let's talk about obsolescence in IT. Okay, first of all, yes, obsolete. Okay, I'm dealing with it. Someday you'll have to too. I was a whiz kid one day. Anyway, here's the thing: is that you have vendors who are essentially saying whatever technology you're using, if it's not the latest and greatest of theirs, your technology is dangerously obsolete. Similarly, you have organizations who don't want to spend money, who are basically saying, hey, that's good enough for you. It was good enough for someone 10, 15 years ago. So what is the definition of obsolescence in IT? Well, unfortunately, like everything else, it depends. All right? So, first of all, the first thing I talk to people about is if I'm talking with an organization, let's say a manufacturing company, their definition of obsolescence half the time is the fact of, did it draw power? If it's still lit up and a fan blew in the back, it's not obsolete, it's fine, you can make it work. There's other companies who are like, if they're even remotely out of date, if they're not running on the alpha version of something that's not going to be released for another year, they want that, and they want that now. Okay? Obsolescence, one friend of mine told me, is, does it work? If it works, it's obsolete. That friend of mine was, well, she was rather strange. But where is that middle line where you can actually get a better idea of how things work? Well, here's a couple of tricks. First of all, is the technology that you're currently using, you're trying to figure out whether or not it's obsolete, is it functional? Does it actually add value to the business in its current state? If no, yeah, it's obsolete. It doesn't work. Second is it reliable? Now, that doesn't just mean, does it work, does it not fall or break, there's no smoke coming out of the back. If it did break, could you reliably find spare parts or someone to service it? If you've got a machine that's critical to your business application, but they haven't made spare parts in 10 years, okay, you're going to have a problem if that thing breaks. If you have that same piece of equipment, but you've got several pieces of spare parts in reserve, okay, that's a little more reliable. The third, is it secure? Okay, does that matter to everybody to the same level? Not necessarily. If you've got a standalone workstation in the back on the shop floor that's essentially connected to a PNC controller or something along those lines, it's not connecting to the internet. We don't care about its antivirus software because it's not on the network. Whereas if you've got a machine that's up in the front office that's actually handling your email and taking in orders and all that kind of thing, okay, now we're a little bit more concerned about the security. And then finally, is it applicable? There's a lot of cases where someone is using software that has been updated within the past, 5-6 years, several times over, and instead of upgrading, they stick with the old stuff. Is that smart? Is that stupid? The answer is, it depends. In some cases, companies are still doing things exactly the same way they were doing them 6 years ago, and that's a good thing. Because their product mix, how they go to market, how they bring business in, how they bring their process hasn't changed any, so it works. In other cases, you have the same company that is desperately trying to fit a 6-year-old piece of software into a current business process, so they have all of these Post-it notes, little Excel worksheets. God help us if somebody forgets where that Access database was made because it's the only thing that makes sense. If that happens, then the software might be partially applicable, but there's too many little workarounds and add-ins and all that kind of fun stuff. And maybe it might not be obsolete, but it may be extremely expensive and prohibiting the organization from actually doing things the way that they want to do. Now, Microsoft in April is going to stop supporting Windows XP. Also, the world is coming to an end at the same time if you listen to Microsoft. Well, the fact of the matter is XP has been dead for a while, but Microsoft is still putting out some security updates for it. This ends in April. Is this a problem? It depends. Are you concerned about getting less and less secure? If so, yeah, that's a problem. Especially if your organization has any kind of compliance issues, HIPAA, SOX, anything along those lines, or deal with companies that do. they may have, and you're going to see this more and more, have restrictions or requirements for the companies that work with them to have up-to-date and secure platforms. XP is not one of those. It's not a question of whether it's going to be in April. It isn't one now. So you need to look at a Windows 7 or a Windows 8 type of solution or some of the other alternatives. Okay? Back in 10 years ago or so, Microsoft had Windows XP and Office 2003. And a lot of people bought that software, and that was the last money they gave to Microsoft in almost 10 years. It's time to cough up. Your stuff is getting obsolete. Crotchety Olde Geek, this is Bob Coppedge. Catch you later.